When I was having the experience, it felt like I was fully conscious. But for the purpose of answering this question, I was in a lucid dream state. But it felt real. So much so that when I woke up, I realized that I was waking up from a dream and I was calling out my mother's name. And so this being, it was one, and she was very perfect features and blonde. Back then, I had no idea what hybrid beings were. Only a few years ago, during a workshop, someone was describing a hybrid being and how they visit, and I had the realization that that's what happened to me back in my teenage years. So this being was very, very blonde, very fair-skinned. And when I told my mother about it, I was like, that was a blonde woman sitting on my bed. And my mother even made a joke. She said that it looked like one of my girlfriends. So I was like, was that your girlfriend, your blonde girlfriend? And mentioned her name. So I even remember the joke that my mother made.
Hey beautiful soul, I'm Hayden Crawford, your host and soul guide here at the Dreemtime Academy, a cosmic mystery school for starseeds and truth seekers, just like you, who are looking at rediscovering your inner wisdom for a life of more freedom, joy and purpose. Now, before we dive into today's episode, I'd like to invite you to subscribe to this channel and click the bell for future notifications so that you never miss one of my podcast episodes of either the Numerology Show or Cosmic Conversations, or indeed some of my transmissions, which will help to activate the next layer of your spiritual awakening. I'm the author of the Starseed Ascension Guide and the Cosmic Family Oracle cards, both designed to help you to reconnect to your higher self and remember who you truly are. If you want to dive deeper, we have an online membership portal called the Oversoul Codex Collective, where you can join a like-minded group of starseeds from all across the planet as you delve into courses in numerology, colour therapy, and cosmic consciousness as well. You can also support this channel by becoming a member, either as a soul spark or a codex keeper. If you're feeling the call to join us together in person, then we also host consciousness expanding retreats in Perth, where you can really start to experience this incredibly immersive work within community environment. Once again, your support really helps this channel to grow. So thank you for joining this team of galactic lightworkers from all across the planet, helping to expand consciousness and bring light into the darkness. So welcome to Cosmic Conversations, where we explore the multidimensional realms of consciousness, ascension, and soul awakening. I'm your host, Hayden Crawford, and today I'm joined by a truly extraordinary guest, Rubia Lacerda. Now, Rubia is a channeler, an ascension mentor, and a quantum healer who has guided thousands of heart-led souls and spiritual entrepreneurs to activate their intuitive gifts and step into alignment with their soul's highest purpose. Her journey began back in 1998 when she discovered her mediumship and psychic abilities, but it was in 2018 that her galactic connection deepened when she was contacted by the Arcturian Council. Since then, she has become a clear and loving channel for these advanced beings of light, supporting humanity's transition into higher states of consciousness. Today, we'll dive deep into Rubia's fascinating connection with the Arcturians, explore what it means to activate the crystalline nervous system, and uncover how we can each embody our higher self as the new earth continues to unfold. So settle in, open your heart, and get ready for a deeply activating conversation with Rubia Lacerda. So welcome, Rubia. It's such an honor to have you with me here today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here too.
Oh, thank you. Well, Rubia, your spiritual journey began back in 1998, but can you share what those early experiences were like, and also, what and how you discovered your own psychic abilities?
Great question to start with. From the age of around the age of 12, I remember I saw a bright light outside of my bedroom. This is a story that I haven't shared much. And when I finally was able to open the window, it's just the old school window. There were two windows, got stuck. Anyway, when I opened, I could see the very tail end of a spaceship just moving very slowly, and it was very low. And that was back in the 80s. So it's not like I had access to the internet or anything to give me ideas. And at the time, I started buying a lot of UFO magazines. I was very, very curious. And I was very curious about extraterrestrial life. When I started reading the magazines, I would tell my parents, oh my God, I'm not from this planet. I'm from wherever these UFOs are. And then from the ages of 12 to about 16, that's when I started to have a lot of vivid dreams. So, which now I describe, I would wake up in a different dimension in my bedroom, different dimension. So in one of these experiences where I woke up, not in this reality, but in another dimension, there was a hybrid being sitting on my bed and we were having a conversation. And that's a hybrid being that I've felt this hybrid being's energy recently again, as I was watching a podcast, and that awakened. And I had premonitions. I was very intuitive. I just knew things before they happened. I could feel people's energy. And I started to notice the older I got, in my teenage years, that I was very unique. There was not really anyone else around me that had the same abilities and this connection with extraterrestrial beings. So that's how I knew. And in Brazil, there's a religion called Spiritism. And so I was very lucky that I started reading these Spiritism books where it explains about life before and after death and about mediumship abilities. So I didn't feel like I was lost. I found like some guidance.
Wow, that's amazing. Can you explain what they looked like? This hybrid being that was sitting in your bedroom. And when you talk about this being like you woke up in a different dimension, were you fully conscious or were you in like a lucid dream state, do you think?
So when I was having the experience, it felt like I was fully conscious. But for the purpose of answering this question, I was in a lucid dream state. But it felt real. So much so that when I woke up, I realized that I was waking up from a dream and I was calling out my mother's name. And so this being, it was one, and she was very perfect features and blonde. Back then, I had no idea what hybrid beings were. Only a few years ago, during a workshop, someone was describing a hybrid being and how they visit, and I had the realization that that's what happened to me back in my teenage years. So this being was very, very blonde, very fair-skinned. And when I told my mother about it, I was like, there was a blonde woman sitting on my bed. And my mother even made a joke. She said that it looked like one of my girlfriends. So I was like, was that your girlfriend, your blonde girlfriend? And mentioned her name. So I even remember the joke that my mother made.
It's so interesting, isn't it? You're actually triggering one of my earliest memories that I had when I was 16 and we lived in a hamlet, and I woke up and I saw a face looking down at me in the room, but it wasn't like what you're explaining. It was terrifying, the thing that was looking down at me. And I literally had to leap out of bed, and I was absolutely terrified, and I was banging on my parents' door in their bedroom, and I was saying, help, help, there's something in the room. And they were just like, oh, just go back to bed, Hayden. They didn't believe me. But I've only ever seen that twice in my life. Once then, and once when we went to Egypt, to Sharm el Sheikh when I was 35. And both times I've been terrified by it. It sounds like the experience that you've had was much more calming. And did this hybrid being resonate a benevolent energy?
It did, definitely. And I say her, well, obviously that was a very feminine energy. And I felt her recently again, and I even recorded a video about it. And just to share with you, I also had some, what we would say, negative experiences. So because my field was so open and I didn't know how to control, and, small country town in Brazil, I started going out very young. I started drinking at 14, God forbid. And because there was alcohol in my system and I'm very open, I would have some terrible nightmares. Like I could feel like something trying to choke me, or I would feel this energy looked like evil in my bedroom, and it was there, it was present. So I experienced the full spectrum. And, I haven't actually drank alcohol for 8 years, and I am very careful with my energetic field now, like cultivating spiritual hygiene, because we all, it's recommended that we all do that. And if you are a very psychic, medium, channeler, do that even more, because it can interfere with your field, and it can weaken your field for these frequencies of vibration to enter.
That's really good advice, yeah, for anybody that's watching that likes to have a few drinks, especially if you are in the spiritual arena. Um, you know, Having that energetic hygiene is absolutely of tantamount importance. This hybrid being then that was in your room, you mentioned that she was blonde. So do you feel like she was maybe Pleiadian, hybrid, or one of the Nordics, or a different sort of galactic species?
When you say Pleiadian Nordic, that resonates.
Okay.
Yeah. And I feel like we are related. So
So
we
you feel
have,
like ancestors.
how do I explain this? This is new information for me. So it's coming through. It's a new coming through. So when I tune in, because it's interesting that we're having this conversation about her, I never went deep into tuning in about this hybrid being. And I only started recently again, back again. So it's interesting that she's coming up. So when I say that we are related, my DNA, we have similar DNA, as if the hybridization program that was used to create her has my DNA, my family's DNA in it. Because what I was shown is that myself and my whole family were taken on spaceships, but no one remembers apart from me, because I have dreams about it. And my family would laugh. If I told them, they would laugh. They think it's cute, and maybe my mother would be saying, let's stop talking about it, because she knows. So, but she gets scared.
Hmm.
So I feel like this hybrid being we have DNA connection.
Thanks for explaining that. Yeah, and I totally understand where you're coming from. Um, my family also have had this sort of experiences with extraterrestrials all the way through, their lives as well. My mum um, admits that she's seen them, but she doesn't remember being taken on board anything. My grandfather was deeply into it. He was actually a member of Bufora, the British
Wow.
UFO research organization back in the 40s, and he used to tell me like all these stories when I was a kid of like how he'd seen saucer-shaped and cigar-shaped objects in the sky. So I know that a lot of the time, with the visitations, they often go right through the family gene pool, and it's not just one person within the family that's been part of these hybridization programs. And fear does, shut a lot of people down. So why do you feel like you were the only one that remembered what you'd experienced going on board the ships?
Well, first of all, my abilities allowed me to have memories, so I have that openness. So that would be really for anyone that remembers, is because we have the ability, the mediumship, the psychic abilities that allow us to see beyond the veil of our third dimensional realm and have these memories. Also, I feel like there is a soul contract that we take before we take human form for the experiences that we are going to have here. So we get to choose if we are going to remember those experiences or not. Because if it's not someone that is very psychic, or someone that it's like not into this world at all, it can be actually quite a traumatizing experience for them. And it can actually really interfere in a negative way in how their life unfolds. Because some people that do remember, they really don't have the nervous system capacity, the emotional and mental capacity to hold that. And they live it's a pretty stressful life. So I am actually quite grateful that my family doesn't remember, because I feel like it would be quite stressful for them.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful way of putting that. So what do you remember from being on board the ships then? What did they look like? Where were you taken?
I've had, when I do guided activations, I intuitively guide the activations with the images that I see. So it's like I am taken on a journey and I take people on a journey that I am being taken on. And my all my clairs are activated. So with my vision is one that it's really, really activated. And to make it clear, is my third eye vision. So I am seeing as a movie inside of my head. And in these guided activations and also in dreams, I've seen it. I have seen the spaceship and I have seen it very, very clear. It's usually more of a, it's not so bright, but it's like there is light and you can see it. And there are many, I'm hearing it now, there's a lot of, most of the things inside of the spaceship, you're not actually able to properly describe with human words. So it's like very oval. The ones that I've been inside oval, and there's been one where we sit around in a round table, and we all put our hands on the table and our feet on the ground of the spaceship, and through that we create an energy field together. So I've had many meetings inside of these spaceships with other friends who are starseeds doing similar work on the planet, and with our galactic families of light. So in there, there's so much information and upgrades and things that we receive. So honestly, one of the reasons why we are having this conversation today is because of these experiences I've had inside of these spaceships. Because when I started channeling, there was still a little part of me that thought, maybe I am just crazy, like who knows? Like this is a lot. And then because it was a lot, I was just channeling all this information. I said, where is all of this coming from? Because I have always known that I was medium and psychic. The actual channeling came online in 2020, and that's when everything blew up big time in a good way. So that's when I knew this is my path.
Yeah, because you mentioned that you sort of came out of the galactic closet in 2020. What
Yes.
inspired you to finally share your trance channeling publicly then, and how did it feel?
Well, to be honest, it's almost like I didn't really have a choice. What I did is I had a job that I really didn't like. I didn't never liked working at jobs. They never felt aligned. I worked in call centers and I was honestly a majority of the time miserable with jobs, and that was making me depressed and anxious. And in 2020, I started doing a couple of courses. I had already studied quite a few things, transpersonal counseling, theta healing. And when World Madness was happening in 2020, I came across theta healing, which is a modality that helps you reprogram unconscious beliefs and blocks. When I did that, I was like, wow. So I discovered so much that I didn't know that I didn't know. And on that same month, I went and did ayahuasca. I took ayahuasca in a ceremony. And disclaimer, please be careful, people. If you're going to do it, don't just do it. Research. I always say that because I've had negative experiences with psychedelics. And in that ayahuasca journey, I had done many, many, many before. So I have Amazonian indigenous background. So, it's in my ancestors for many, many lifetimes. We have done ayahuasca. So for me, it always worked really well. I had done it many times before. And this one in 2020, Jesus appeared during my ceremony, and he said, it's time that you come out of the galactic closet. That is your gift. And I remember this was in 2020. In 2018, the Arcturians had shown themselves to me, and I was pushing that away for almost 2 years. And when I saw Jesus and the experiences I've had with psychedelics, is that it blew so many third dimensional veils that I couldn't just not pretend it wasn't real, or I couldn't run away from it anymore. So yes, they were amazing experiences, but like I could still hide. This is the thing. I was like, oh, I sing too much now. Almost like I wanted to go back and take the experiences away because it felt like a lot. So then I knew there was nothing. So I came out, it was really scary. I shared, and I shared my post on the Gaia TV group on Facebook, and that post blew up. And I had people from all over the world with long comments, very emotional comments saying, I resonate. And I was like, wow, this is what happened when you speak your truth. So it was very empowering and also petrifying at the same time. I felt very vulnerable, very seen, and very scared of how people would judge me, especially my family's friends and people from my hometown in Brazil, because it's a very religious small town.
Of course, yeah. It's the judgments that other people make on you that can prevent people from sharing these experiences. And actually, it's so beneficial that you were able to do that and to get it out to such a wide network of people that can identify, so that they don't feel like they're going mad as well. Because when you start perceiving things that lay beyond the veil, you can't go back. You're right. There's no way of just going back into your box and just pretending that you can just go through a regular 9 to 5 day job. And um, so for you, you must have felt very exposed during that whole thing. Was that when the Arcturian Council first made themselves aware to you during the ayahuasca ceremony?
They actually made themselves aware back in 2018 when I was doing a healing session on a client. I remember thinking, I'm a little bit bored. I don't think I want to do healing. It was pranic healing, similar to Reiki. I knew that they were going to get results, but they're probably going to go back to their old life. And I thought, how do I do something that helps people long term? And I want to do something else. And I'm having this internal conversation. And that's when I saw this blue light and my third eye blew open and I saw 5 or 6 beings. And that's when they came and they said, well, we're here to co-create with you. And when you are ready, we will show you that there's so much more to your mission than what you are doing right now as a counselor and a healer.
So, okay, so they'd made themselves known during that particular session that you were doing, but then it was during ayahuasca that you were able to connect with them on a deeper level?
I didn't even connect with them I had connected with them already a year prior in an ayahuasca journey in 2017. I saw the spaceship descend. And then I went back to a memory where I saw this being was holding me. So I was 5 years old. She was holding me, looking into my eyes. And I had an incredible experience. And I thought everyone did. I was sharing the next day and no one else had seen these beings. No one else had seen the spaceship. That's when I started thinking, okay, I see. So it was all a combination of things that happened throughout many, many years that showed me that I really had a very special connection with these beings. So 2017, I saw them in ayahuasca. 2018, I saw them during a healing session. In 2020, I saw Jesus during ayahuasca. Jesus said, it's time to come out of the galactic closet. Because I have a very strong connection with Jesus since I was a child, growing up Catholic in Brazil.
Of course, yeah, amazing. So that must have been sensational. I listen to a lot of near-death experiences, and often, Jesus or Yeshua comes in as being one of the first people that talks to people that have crossed over, and, especially if they need to return to Earth. Did it did it almost feel like that you were having, I mean, an NDE? It's like, did you see him in a very physical capacity?
I did. I was lying there. I still remember, I can still see the place, the lights, everything. And there was a picture of him on this place. So as soon as I arrived there, the first thing I saw was the picture of him, or one of the pictures of him. And so he kneeled down and he was looking to my eyes as I'm lying down. So he was in the room that I was in. It wasn't just, I wasn't just seeing him inside of my head. I was seeing him right beside me.
What did he look like?
Look, he looks like, so this, it's important that I shared this before. How we see these beings is based on the consciousness, our consciousness, and the programming that we have inside of our head. So I could see the Arcturians blue and you could see them green. So it's like, that's why some people get confused with people describing beings. So how I saw him, it was like many of the pictures that we see of Jesus, but not the white Jesus. It was more like of darker features, darker hair and dark, not dark suit, not black, but darker with the longish hair. And the if you watch that, there was a series that Chosen. It looked like very much like the guy on Chosen.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah, I do hear that actually a lot, that it depends on your own programming, your perception of any of the galactic races, ascended masters or archangels. So Jesus, yeah, sometimes he comes and he's got blue eyes, sometimes he's got brown eyes, sometimes he's darker, sometimes he's fair. Some people describe him as being Pleiadian, some people say he's more dark skinned or whatever, so there is a plethora of different ways he can present himself, but it's more about the energy, isn't it, of Jesus.
Yes, 100%.
So how did that feel then? That's probably a better question to ask you when he presented himself.
Let me tune into back into that energy. Well, what I can feel and remember now, it was like nothing else in the whole entire world existed for him. I was everything. And he was looking me in the eyes, and I can feel it. It was so intense, like in a beautiful way. Thank you for asking these questions. They're great. And there was so much unconditional love and certainty and confirmation that I've known about these beings in my field for almost 2 years. And the energy of Jesus and how he held me and the main message that he transmitted that day, there was no question in my mind that that was the right thing to do. And I felt like it because it came from Jesus. And interesting enough, I only started sharing that it came from Jesus a couple of years ago. Until a few years ago, I would just say, and then I received the message that I had to come out of the galactic closet because I was afraid of being judged by spiritual people that I was talking about Jesus. So like I was, afraid of judgment
Of
of sharing
course.
this message.
Yeah, well, I mean that's right. When you've been brought up in a Catholic family, everything, is like is a judgment, because it's that old school
Mm.
kind of religious, if you step outside of the teachings, then you're a sinner in some way. So it must have been so difficult for you to even bring Jesus into the equation when you're talking about, the Arcturians or any other members of the Galactic Federation of Planets. So how did that shift your understanding of who you are then and why you're here?
I feel like as a spiritual person, one of the things that we suffer from, or that I suffered from, was being too humble. And that felt like a big mission. And it also, what I realized is that I was not able to function doing a task or doing a job that I do not enjoy. And I've been like this from school. I could only learn 3 subjects because the ones I didn't like, it just made no sense. I couldn't learn it. I could call it, I don't know what they call it these days. There's all these different types of labels for it these days. And so I really had to step into a new identity because the old identity of Rubia could not be a channeler. And I had to make peace with the fact that, okay, this is it. I am not only am a channeler, I am going to create a mission business from this to share my work with the world and support others so that I can also receive financially for that so that I can stay on this path. Because I tried to work full time and do this and I was miserable and exhausted. So it was a bit of a journey to go from the old identity into the new identity, especially with the projection of the spiritual community as well. How can you do this and charge? And there were like all different things, and also getting over the being too humble, being able to show up and say, I am a channeler. I am here to channel these galactic beings. And guess what? It's not about me. It's about supporting humanity at the highest. So putting the me aside really helped as well. So when I get projected on, when I get judged, I remember that it's not about me and it's okay if people project because I'm doing this truly from my heart to support humanity.
I love that. Well said. Well said. Because it's definitely the road less traveled. I identify with that 100% because I like you. I've worked in corporate IT recruitment and many other industries for many years. And I always like was good at it, but I used to feel like I was living someone else's life. And when you choose to do your soul work, it shifts everything, and you have to commit yourself to it. But you feel so supported every step of the way when you are like living it. You never have to really worry about like money or any of that sort of stuff. It kind of gets taken care of, but it's a commitment. And I love what you've said about, stepping out of being too humble because it is an important mission, this. I mean, it's like it's not for the faint-hearted. There are easier things to do. So backing yourself and going, no, like, what I am sharing is valuable, it's uplifting, it's enlightening, and it's going to pave the way for the new Earth paradigm ultimately. So, fantastic, good for you. So just delving a bit deeper into the Arcturian teachings then, for those who may not be familiar with the Arcturians specifically, what role do they play in humanity's ascension?
So, from my knowledge, there are multiple different councils of light, and there's different councils of light of Arcturians. So, I can share more about the ones that I work with, and just because some people may share slightly different, they have multiple different roles. And the council of light that I work with, and I've heard this a lot about Arcturians as well, is that they're here to support, to bring through wisdom and information that a lot of the times we are not able to see because of the third dimensional veils of illusion that we have, and because of some quite dense programming that we can carry, because it's just not in a shameful or guilty way, but just because it's the nature of being human. So a lot of the dense programming around big ones is scarcity, safety, and security. So like there's a lot of illusion around, like we feel like as long as I have a certain amount of money in my bank account, then I'm safe, that I'm secure. But that's such an illusion. And they bring enlightening information and wisdom about all of that. So, and why do they do that? Why are they here? So basically bringing through information that we may not have access to unless it comes externally, for a lot of people. And the reason why they do that, because in order for the ascension and evolution of all that is, of all the dimensions, it's important that all the dimensions are evolving and ascending. In the third dimensional realm, because there is so much madness here, it's such an incredible place, and there's so much happening here, and humanity tends to be deviated fairly easily a lot of the times because of the temptation, and like people just being swayed into paths of temptation and things like that. So they are here to support, because the ascension, because as long as we are ascending and evolving, all that is also ascending and evolving. So they're doing to help us, but it also helps them and the ascension and evolution of all that is.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Yeah, because it ripples out. What impacts one affects everybody else. So it's a collective thing, really. So they don't want us, slipping too far down the dimensional frequencies, because ultimately it means that, they won't have access to certain dimensions themselves, potentially.
Yes.
So when you channel the Arcturian Council, how does that connection feel in your body and in your energy field?
So how I trans channel them, I take the back seat and they will come through. So I don't have a control in what they say. So it's basically, it sounds a bit weird to say it, but they're using my body as a vessel of communication. So, but I can still hear what they are saying, and I may remember the conversation for a couple of days. I don't remember next week, but I remember for a couple of days. And when I am doing it, it just feels like I am in a really deep meditative state. So it's like the whole room expands. It feels like there is nothing around me. Like the computer disappears, everything disappears, and it's just me. So it's a really deep meditative state. And I feel okay afterwards, but later in the day, I feel more tired than usual, so need more rest than usual. So I will never trans channel them more than once a day, for example. I honestly don't do it more than once a week these days because, yeah, it's a lot of energy.
I can imagine it is, yeah. So are there specific times that they'll come through with different messages? For example, like yesterday here in Australia, it was the 1111 cosmic portal, and for that date for a lot of people is quite significant. Do you find that they use numerology to be able to offer information, or is it just when there's something going on within the zeitgeist, for example?
They are a very they're beings that are very co-creative. They will co-create with our energy, and we will usually do something on those dates. What they have shared is that, astrologically speaking, it's not because you know how the calendar is a bit all over the place, like it's the calendar but it's not the calendar. It's like it's not correct, if we could say that. But in saying that, because of the energy that we all put towards being the 1111, so you could imagine there's millions of us all over the planet putting this energy towards ascension on the 11th of the 11th. So it does create an energy field that supports the ascension process. But what I received from them is that, yeah, the calendar is all over the place. What matters the most is our energy and where we are putting our energy. And the way that they function, that they work, is in a co-creative way. So if you invite them in, they'll come in and have a conversation with you in a co-creative way. Because they have ascended past. It's not that they're not so much attached to our calendar, for example, or to really what's happening on Earth.
I understand completely. Yeah, because the old calendar, is based around 12 months. And, with the Pleiadian wisdom calendar, that's based on cycles of 13. So
Mm,
it's almost like that construct of the old Earth paradigm is embedded within the draconian calendar. And I think
mm,
that, but they use the frequencies of uplifted energetic vibration to be able to offer information because it's a PowerPoint. It's like plugging in to an event which is highly infused, I suppose.
yes.
Okay, so can you share then a recent message or a transmission from the Arcturians that maybe feels particularly relevant for humanity right now?
I am curious. I would love to ask if there's anything that you feel is really present for you or for your audience, for humanity, that you feel this is really present if you bring that into the space.
Okay.
So, yes.
Okay, so I'm just going to tap in then.
Okay, great.
Okay, so I'm just going to tap into a member of the Andromedan Council, Oreal Tashiran, and I'm going to ask him to ask this question.
Okay, great.
With the reunion of the cosmic families that's taking place on the planet right now, how are the Arcturians assisting with this? And has Three Atlas been pivotal in the bringing forth of galactic communities? And are they offering us vehicles of being able to perceive more spaceships within the night sky?
I'm going to let the Arcturians come through and answer that, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I could feel them. Dear ones, we are the Arcturian Council of Light, and it is an honor for us to be here today. And to answer your question, Yes, we are very much so connected with the reunion of star families, galactic families on Earth. And we would like you to please bring through your other question so that we can clarify and answer accordingly.
So, has the arrival of Three Eye Atlas shifted the Earth's timeline in any way? And has that event been pivotal in humans being able to start physically seeing spaceships and interacting on a more of a physical level with the galactic community?
To answer your question, yes and yes. And what we would like to share as well is that yes, timelines have shifted and they are shifting on micro and sometimes micro levels all the time. What happens, dear soul, is that when timelines are shifted, not everyone will shift with the timeline depending on what aspects of their soul they are working through in their current existence. So many humans who shift with the timeline, for example, they will know I have shifted timeline and they will be able to also have more psychic experiences or channeling experiences or visions. They will be able to make contact in multiple different ways through their dreams or even in physical reality. So you may ask, so how can we all shift the timeline so that we are having also these experiences? Well, that comes down to really the work that you are doing on yourself and who you are becoming. What is it that you are cultivating in your day-to-day life, especially behind the scenes when no one is watching? Because let's say somebody that is leading quite an unhealthy life and is not treating themselves well or treating others well, it is highly unlikely that they will shift into this timeline where contact is more present. Does this make sense so far?
Yes, absolutely. So it's about observing all aspects of how you live your life and making your intentions um, pure and for the betterment of humanity on a day-to-day basis, and working through any of the judgments that you hold on the world or the people, and really moving back into almost like a sense of purification of the individual experience.
That is correct. And how we say it is we know that humans, or the majority of humans on, you would say, spiritual community, star seeds, light workers really want to make this collective contact. That contact is made with the collective. And how you do that, it really depends on who you are being on an individual and collective level. So if you choose to do that work on yourself and to become that more aligned version of yourself, you are contributing for contact to happen sooner.
Okay, understood. So, how do the Arcturians specifically work with the Andromedans, the Pleiadians, the Syrians, and the Orions? How did they all work together? How do you all work together as a collective, or do you have very separate missions to fulfill?
We have collective missions and separate missions. And when it comes to the details of those missions, we are not able to share with you in a aligned way in human words. It goes beyond what human words can explain the work that we do together.
Okay, so this is something that is that humans will not understand at all. So we almost have to just trust that the galactics have a higher purpose and that they are shifting things from a much higher perspective.
That is correct. We could explain to you, and what we mean is that words wouldn't do it justice because we are working, as we said, together and separate on so many different levels. And there are so many multidimensional tasks that are involved that would be way too complicated and convoluted to explain in human words. What we can share is that we do come together as just like you come together with your country may come together with other countries for the betterment of society, humanity, and planet Earth. So you could see it as the same, and you are still doing your own work in your own country. So it is the same with the Galactic Councils of Light.
So how do you work with Jesus?
Could you be more specific?
What work is it that you do with Jesus? How does he interact with the Arcturians? Is Jesus almost like the leader, or does he work on a very different dimensional frequency? How does he interact with the galactics?
How we connect with Jesus or how we explain is that the Arcturians are messengers of God, of Jesus. We will bring through wisdom of God, of Jesus, to many that would not listen necessarily to words that would be shared by God or Jesus, for example. And Jesus is one of the ascended masters of the planet that has a deeper connection with your DNA. And there are certain codes and healings that we are not able to share, for example, on a deeper level, how Jesus does. So you could see our connection as a co-creation, as Jesus hold more of the human codes, the human ascension codes, whereas we hold the galactic codes. So there is a co-creation in supporting humanity. There is no hierarchy though, as in he responds to us or we respond to him. There is not that type of hierarchy in the dimensions which we are operating from.
Are the Arcturian Council were they responsible for seeding the first humans in Atlantis, or was that a different galactic race?
Dear soul, we are unable to answer this question only because there is different information about this subject that has already been shared, and we do not want to create more confusion.
Understood. And what about the pyramids of Giza? Were the pyramids used as almost like multi-dimensional tools, constructs to help people to ascend, or do they have a different function?
They do as well, and they continue to do so. They are quantum architectures that have been specifically placed on Earth to support with the ascension. So much so, there is very specific information that is only held at the pyramids and pyramids of Giza, and that is why many mission souls, spiritual beings, travel there all the time. And that is also why many of those pyramids, it is not allowed to pray or to meditate inside, because there is a desire to stop it being used as a quantum architecture and tool by forces that we would say not wanting the ascension of humanity to happen so fast.
Understood. So, are there other portals or gateways across the planet that the Arcturians work with to be able to interact with the planet, such as Gigantia or some of the pyramid structures elsewhere around the world?
We can work with any sacred structure on the planet except for the ones that may be sacred to the land, and the original people of that land do not allow other beings there, which is at only very few rare specific places on the planet. Otherwise, with the other places, it is only a matter, let's say, if Rubias go to Egypt and she is in a specific pyramid, she can call us in and we will come to co-create in that space. So it is the same if you traveled to a sacred place on the planet, you can call us in to co-create. What we say when it comes to co-creating with councils of light in sacred places, it is a matter of you connecting with your heart and asking which council of light it is most aligned for me to connect with and work with here today. You receive the answer and then you call the council, and if it is aligned for them as well, they will come.
So what is your major purpose and mission on the planet right now?
Right now, dear soul, is to bring messages of wisdom and enlightenment to show humans what they don't know that they don't know. Is to bring light to the shadow of humanity, to what is playing out that may be blocking them from going into that next level, for example. And it is to show humans that they are special in their own unique way, and that they do matter, that their gifts do matter, their mission does matter, and when they do share the beautiful creativity of their heart, no matter what that is, whether it's singing or dancing or painting, when they share their creative soul art with the world, it truly indeed changed the entire course of humanity. So a lot of the work that we do is very simple. We're here to remind of the very simple things that humans over time have really overcomplicated.
Very good. And will you ever be walking amongst us in a physical capacity, or would that be too frightening for humans still?
Well, there are multiple timelines available, and in the timeline, there is definitely a timeline where we are walking amongst you. And as we said earlier, that timeline really, when it's going to happen, it really depends on how humans ascend on an individual and collective level. Hence why the work that each and every single one of you listening to this message, the work that you do on yourself and the mission that you share with humanity really does matter and has an impact on contact.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for answering those questions today. I genuinely appreciate you being here and bringing clarity into those questions with love.
You are so welcome, dear soul. It is our honor to come here. This is very much so a big part of our mission is to come here and share through incredible channels like you. So thank you for the work that you do and for having the courage to have this channel and share messages with humanity.
Thank you. Okay. That's
We are
beautiful.
sending you all so much love, and until next time.
Well done.
Oh,
That was beautiful. Thank you so much. That
on
was so, so beautiful. I could really feel their presence and their wisdom, and just bringing it back to basics, which I think is so important right now, not to overcomplicate this. One of the messages right towards the end that they said was that, it's so imperative that we all do the work on ourselves. And I know that your work f focuses specifically on the crystalline nervous system. Can you explain what that is and how we can begin to activate it within ourselves?
so everything that the Arcturians shared about who we are becoming, the work that we are doing on ourselves, all of that accumulates as work for the activation of the crystalline nervous system. So the more layers that we shed of programming, beliefs, systems that are no longer serving us, it's like it activates more of our light body, where it's our crystalline nervous system, which we say is the nervous system that is able to make contact with beings of light, with extraterrestrial beings, without going into panic. Because our more primitive third dimensional nervous system, that's the one that goes into panic. And so what I say to people, it's keep doing the work that you are doing on yourself. And it's like anything that you do that it's self-love. And sometimes self-love, it's really hard. Like self-love might mean to go to the gym 3 times a week and not enjoying that. And or it's cutting off a certain food that you want to cut off, or it's to cut off relationships, or is to stop being a people pleaser and say no when you mean no. Like as you do all of that, you start to become more and more of the new human. And the final piece for the crystalline nervous system is you are you have, and some people say crystalline, so it's like you are aware of it now. So you, when you are meditating, or when you are going for walk in nature, if you are walking barefoot or you are swimming in the ocean, it's for you to connect with your whole system, and you say the words or you think the words and say, activating now more of my crystalline nervous system. So that is really, really helpful, because what you are doing is you are bringing more and more of that awareness into your field, because your whole being already knows. And it's like when you bring that awareness into meditative state or being connected with nature, what you are doing is that you are allowing your DNA, the dormant codes, to awaken, and you are bringing that remembrance. So it's not like you are activating something new, you are awakening dormant codes and bringing through remembrance. And there's many guided activations. There's some activations that I do sometimes that I specifically to connect with the crystalline nervous system.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And it's such a and it's really about intention, isn't it? A lot of the time being aware, self-reflective, and bringing intention back into the body when you're, in these high vibration places like being out in nature. But you also work with ancestral healing and DNA clearing. So how do generational patterns affect our spiritual evolution, and how can we also release those?
So I can speak for myself personally. What I mentioned earlier about the theta healing is a practice that I do. It's not it's a talk therapy, but the theta brainwave is activated. So people have their eyes closed, but we are speaking. And I love that type of therapy, because it's not just someone lying on the table. Look, I love healing. Healing is amazing. And I feel like the talk is important, because we talk to the unconscious mind, where the ancestral patterns and the blocks are there. So if there's something in your life that is not working out, you've done everything you could, I don't know how else to make this work, it's usually an unconscious sabotage. So for a lot of people, it's like they want to make more money or they want to meet somebody or they want love, but it's just not happening, is because there's a part of them that doesn't see them as safe. So consciously speaking, that makes no sense, but trust me, unconsciously speaking, that's where it's at. So when I work with people, we will go deep. And the Arcturians actually guided me back in 2020 as well to go and do this, the theta healing. And they said that's going to be the last thing you study for a long time, or that a modality that you learn, because it's so powerful. And how that supports in the ascension of humanity. Well, if you imagine, let's say that for the spiritual community, if we remove the scarcity programming or the savior template that wants to give everything for free, that wants to save everyone, or the victim that wants to be saved all the time, if we remove that and brought so much more wealth into spirituality, we would have ascended to higher dimensional levels already. So it is so crucial that we are healing these ancestral patterns of scarcity, of feeling unsafe, of not enoughness, because all of that is crucial for our ascension.
100%. Yeah, absolutely. That's beautiful. So how can star seeds then stay grounded whilst holding higher dimensional frequencies?
Well, the first thing that comes up when you ask that question, I see nature, having the body in nature. So bare feet, and I know some people, you might be in freezing places of the world, but where I live, I'm very blessed that I can go swim in the ocean, swim in the river, walk barefoot. I'm probably going to go walk barefoot after we finish, making sure that we are grounding. Eating healthy is 100% crucial. Drinking good quality filtered water, another thing. I feel like a lot of the times the star seeds forget to look after the body properly, not or avoiding overuse of technology. It really is looking after the health of this avatar and doing that work on self, and looking at the parts that we want to avoid to look at the most.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, just stripping all that back to basics as well. What's going in, what's going out? How can you love yourself more each and every single day to keep your vibration, your frequency high, to allow in this cosmic family reunion? There really isn't anything, that's overly complicated. It's just about really making better decisions for ourselves, isn't it? Instead of making excuses and falling into old patterns of victimhood or fight or flight, feast or famine, and old survival issues.
Yes.
So, what is the Arcturian perspective then on the new Earth? And what timeline or energetic markers are they showing for the next phase of us as a collective?
Interesting. It's like I'm seeing a movie. What we see happening now is timelines are shifting faster than ever before because of AI. So, yes, there are some problems that are occurring because of AI, and simultaneously, it means that we are ascending a lot faster. And a lot of people may also be noticing that time has also changed and our relationship with time. So time is also sometimes it's really slow and sometimes it's really, really fast. If you I'm not sure if you Hayden have had this experience, but it's wild how time it's not really what it used to be.
Hmm. Oh, 100%. It's changed completely. For me personally, I struggle to get through everything that I need to get through in the day. It's like the day just goes so quickly.
Yeah,
And um, I feel like I'm just running against time, and it's like I know there's always enough time to be able to achieve what you need to do, but it's like it's collapsing.
it
It's like a
is.
tower of cards that seems to be collapsing around, and before you know it, things have happened. You've got old, and they I just feel that, when you talk about the time speeding up, I sorry, slowing down. That's what I don't identify with because I feel almost like I wish it would.
Yeah,
So when you say it's
for
slow,
some people. Yeah.
what do you mean it's slowing down? Like for who? Like when do people feel like it's slowing down?
So, yeah, great question. So, if for people that are going through, let's say, a very painful spiritual awakening, it really feels like slowing down. Now, for day to day life, it's speed up. But if you're going through a dark night of the soul or a spiritual awakening, it's almost like it's slower than what it used to be. It's like when we, because in a painful spiritual awakening, you already ask, when will this ever end? But now, because the energies are so intense on the planet, and going back to what you talk about, the new Earth, there's so much happening on this planet that we are almost like, is this place okay? It's a little bit mad out there. And what the Arcturians say about that is that it's, yes, it is very concerning, some of the things that are happening on the planet and how it's affecting some people with war and genocide, and it's horrendous. And they're saying that it's also a side effect, is just an effect of the shadow now being exposed, because in the past it couldn't be exposed. It was very hard to expose the shadow and the shadow of the shadow, and now that is no longer the case because of the internet and because, because of AI and other things. So a lot of it's being exposed. So what we are going through, if you could see it as like a big purge, and it's almost like, when it's like doing a detox. If you've ever done a detox, you will feel terrible. It is not fun. The longer you go, the worse it gets. And you can't imagine that you're still a month without eating and just drinking juice and you are still purging. So it's kind of like what the earth is going through right now. But after the detox, you're like, wow, I've never felt so good. So how the Arcturians explain is that the earth is going through a very big detoxification process. And on the other side of that is the new earth. And for us to keep our eyes on the prize, like we can still cultivate higher, live in a higher realm of the earth right now, despite of what's happening on the planet. So it's something that you said earlier, very important that we don't get into victimization. Oh no, why did I choose to come here? Well, we chose to come here. This is what it is. How can we make the most of it? And how can we support humanity?
Perfect. Well said. Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And I really do feel like that's a great place for us to sort of draw a close. I could talk to you for hours about this because, the wisdom that you share is truly next level and just so reaffirming to hear it, coming through the wisdom of the Arcturian Council. It's brilliant, and the work you're doing to awaken humanity is brilliant. So thank you for all the work that you do. I know that it hasn't been easy for you after going through what you went through, and your religious upbringing, and all overcoming all those fears of judgment. But the the truth that comes through in the words that you speak and how it resonates within my heart, is very uplifting. So thank you for that, Rubia. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you for your beautiful words. I feel it in my heart. Thank you, Hayden. It's been a pleasure and honor to have this conversation with you. I could go on forever.
Where can people find you, Rubia?
So on my website, rubialacerda.com, and also social media, I'm quite active on Instagram and Facebook and some videos on YouTube. So yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. I would strongly encourage anybody who's watching to check out her amazing work that she's doing. And I was looking at some of the podcasts that you've done on some really amazing podcast episodes of Next Level Soul and Just Tap In with Emilio Ortiz. So you're really getting yourself out there and spreading your message far and wide. So it's very inspiring for all of us really to watch and see you grow and shine your light. I appreciate it. And if you have never come across this channel before, please make sure you subscribe to Dreamtime Academy and click the bell for future notifications so that you don't miss any of the weekly podcast episodes of both Cosmic Conversations and the Numerology Show. And until then, make sure you keep shining your light, stay aligned, and stay out of victimhood. Keep shining your light. Bye for now.